Portsmouth, New Hampshire is known for a rich history seen in its old buildings and its proximity to the ocean, which is part of the city landscape. But quietly and faster than ever before, those two things are colliding.
In big storms or at a really high tide, like a full moon high tide, we'll have water come into people's basements, we'll have water come over seawalls here and there, flooding parking lots. Mainly it's when it's associated with a big storm that we have a problem.
Parts of historic Portsmouth exist in a floodplain, more susceptible to high tide and storm surges. And those surges are getting worse. Over the last 100 years, scientists believe the sea level has risen by about a foot, and it's going up thanks to melting ice caps and warmer ocean water.
There is evidence that there are several properties within Portsmouth that are being affected by this.
One of those low-lying areas affected is one of the city's most beloved. Strawberry Bank Museum is getting inundated with water.
Strawberry Bank is a 9-acre site with 37 historic buildings, and our mission is to interpret this neighborhood as it evolved through time.
Rodney Rowland is director of facilities here, where he's watching two water threats. One from storm surges that can pour in during a storm from the nearby Piscataqua River. You've likely seen it before.
I think they're aware of surface water flooding because it's in the media a lot. I think what they're not aware of is the groundwater issues.
Turns out when those rising tides come in, they can move the existing groundwater. Watch this time-lapse video of the basement inside the 1790 Shapley Driscoll house. It shows water rising during a king tide. This is some 400 feet from the ocean.
So if the river is undergoing specifically a high tide from astronomical high tide or a storm surge, it's pushing up groundwater into the basement of our historic homes. That just causes wood rot, insect damage, it causes decay to metal and brick foundations.
Much of the grounds at Strawberry Bank was once a tidal inlet, bustling with commerce. Decades after it was filled in, you can see rainwater still likes to collect in massive pools. It's a big problem that's now getting some big help.
So I'm going to pull up this barrel here, and we're going to see a data logger.
Michael Ruthier is part of a team of researchers at UNH hoping to use data to save these buildings.
We're looking at water level, the amount of salinity in the water, and then also the humidity in the air.
They've placed wireless sensors in the basements of some of the historic buildings to monitor flooding.
You can see some of the mildew on the walls, and that helps us to determine where the water level was.
They watch how water moves when a high tide hits its peak.
The water actually percolates through loose fill through the old puddle dock in the middle of Strawberry Bank.
The UNH team added another sensor in the ocean and hope to place more in vulnerable parts of the city to create a data-filled picture like this one at the museum, which charts the tidal impact.
And what we're seeing is when the sump pump can't keep up with the water.
In the meantime, Strawberry Bank is taking proactive measures to protect these historic structures. In the fall of 2023, the 1750 Penhallow House was temporarily raised some 10 feet off the ground to install a modern drainage system. The old stone foundation left the home with serious water damage.
So we made the decision to remove that foundation and put in what's called a wet-proof basement, which allows us to manage the flow in and out of the water.
And it's just the beginning. Some of these historic homes may get similar drainage systems, while others are placed on concrete slabs. Fixes the public likely won't notice when it's all done. Another possible solution would be quite visible, building a retention pond here out on the green that would attract some of that groundwater and pull it away from the houses. It would all happen at great expense, impacting their budget and their mission.
We're a historic preservation institution, so we want to do as little as possible. Doing something like this is completely against that concept, but we have to go so far to be able to protect the house itself.
Strawberry Bank isn't alone. Other homes in low-lying areas of Portsmouth are facing expensive water threats. The city is now studying what, if any, steps they should take to avoid future water issues.
We're not trying to say run for the hills or anything like that, but we're trying to have a good understanding and be prepared.
As Director of Planning for Portsmouth, Peter Britz takes the threat of rising sea levels seriously. In fact, the city has now required any new development in a flood zone to be an extra 2 feet above the 8-foot federal floodplain level.
The idea is that, yeah, we don't want to put people in harm's way. It's a way to give the community some protection from future flooding events that are predicted to happen.
That is the big question. How bad will future high tides be? As bad as this mock scenario displayed at the museum? Some estimates say sea levels could rise another 2 feet by the end of the century. It could mean low-lying homes may have to be adapted, raised up, or even moved. Historic Portsmouth may look a lot different in the future.
At some point, it's going to be that question is what's the impact of the flooding versus the impact of the historic character.